things as they go along. And then it's one of these things where I suppose, as you say, it's not discovering, it's like rediscovering, re-remembering perhaps these things you can do. That's what a lot of this stuff has been for me. This led to me thinking, how does feminine walking, masculine walking work? Because there has to be a more masculine way I can walk as well. Not to the point of masculine peacocking, but in a way where it embodies more masculine energy. So
that's really good. We trained with Marcus in Japan, that part as well.
So here's what I did. One of the things I learned to do is something I call energy stating, where if I repeat a word over and over again, I can channel the energy of that. That's a tangent for later. I need to stop that. Okay, time conscious. So I can channel the energy of that. And so I said, so it's kind of like, say, feminine smile, masculine smile, that kind of thing, right? Yeah. So could I do that with walking? And it worked. And then I went, I don't know how Master J is somehow embodying the masculine. This feels deeply uncomfortable for me to switch polarity like that, because I noticed my polarity was actually changing, whereby I could see the energy actually coming inwards rather than outwards as well when I actually walked in a feminine way. And I learned something that it's kind of like this thing where the masculine walks actually with their arms. The energy to walk comes from their arms. And women, it actually comes from their legs in some ways. So I thought to myself, and maybe I'm wrong in this, but my experiment was, okay, let's try this. Masculine walking, but legs only, no movement of arm, no energy to channel through the arms. I couldn't walk. I just stood there, I couldn't walk. And then I went, okay, now activate the arms, no legs. Suddenly started walking. I was like, wow, okay, this is crazy. Can I do the same with, okay, if I switch to the feminine, does it work the same way? It works the same way, the opposite way around. Okay, arms only, no movement, legs only. Oh gosh, it's absolutely crazy. So maybe perhaps it comes from the idea that, if the masculine gives to the world, the energy comes from their arms to give to the world. And if the feminine supports the world, then supported by the legs. That was kind of the theory I had.
It has to do with the energy distribution in adults, because as kids, we have yin and yang energy roughly distributed around our body. But as we mature and grow up, the energy tends to separate. And so what it does naturally from the waist up, it's young masculine energy, and from the waist down is the feminine energy. So there are techniques like the microcosmic orbit mentioned in Kaizenesis that help you mix that energy and prevent that separation, because it's not really good for you. If you keep it going, what is going to happen is that the overload of a young masculine energy in the upper body is going to make your resources burn faster. So you need to basically the coolant in your legs, you need to bring it up to have this heat burning more evenly and safer for your system. So the microcosmic orbit is really good for that. And yes, this is what you've discovered. This is why your question, why this is the reason.
Oh, okay. I'm going to need to think about that just a bit more to really let that concept sink in. Okay.
Okay, because what happens is, so there are two streams. One is a yin stream of energy coming from the earth, and the yang coming from the heaven, the sky. So the heavenly energy, the earthly energy. Now the earthly energy is feminine, the heavenly energy is masculine. So the feminine energy enters through the soles of our feet and the lower part of our body, like the pelvis, where the root mind gate is. And conversely, the masculine energy comes from the top of our head and flows down. And as I said, in most people, what happens is that they don't manage their energy effectively. So after a while, it starts separating more and more. So the masculine energy is stored in the lower part of their body, closer to the earth, closer to the earthly stream, and the masculine stays in higher. It's like a cocktail, with two layers that aren't working properly. So this is what you've discovered.
Okay, sure. I misunderstood that. I thought you meant as in like, say, that you need a balance of masculine on top of with a little bit of feminine. But what you're saying is essentially, It's not that. Is that correct? Sorry.
Yes. So you don't want that. This is what happens if you don't do anything. This is what happens to most people. But this is not ideal, because if you have an overload of masculine energy. So imagine it this way. So the masculine energy is heat and the feminine energy is coolness. Now, if you just have an overload of heat in your brain, in your lungs, in your upper body, like your chest, your heart, then you're burning through your energy resources quicker and it puts a strain on your energy system. So instead of having your settings on maximum heat, you want them to actually be warm, like a thermostat.
Okay.
So you want to bring up some of the yin feminine energy from the lower part of your body and mix it with the masculine energy in the top part of your body. As I said, through techniques like the microcosmic orbit, so that it's not cool and hot, but it's warm throughout your body and your system runs a lot better. And it rejuvenates the system as well, as ancient Taoists have discovered.
Okay. When I was in Japan, I went to some kind of tech thing, and basically one of the speakers was on the wrong side of the fence, and that energy was hitting me quite hard. So talking to your energy, I went, what do I do? Focus on light. So I focused on light, and what happened is light basically channeled itself and basically energized that triangle, if I was using that term. So filled it up and basically expanded it, made it strong, and basically I became resistant and it was all good. A month later, when I come home, I had this thought in my head. I was like, okay, when I charge that triangle, it's like a triangle I sort of visualize behind my back. If I charge that triangle, I find that I sort of stand up more straight as a result of the energy propping up my entire body and whatnot. Then I thought, but when I stop charging it, it's like it leaks. And then I thought, well, could this be perhaps a visualization of how like energy works? And so it's like your energy battery, energy capacitance. Is that what this could be? So it's kind of like maybe a different visualization of the volts. So then I thought, what happens when what happens to hit the walls of this thing, visualize? And so, okay, it's squishy. It's exactly like Master says. Okay, let's reinforce it. So I reinforced it, charged it up. And what happened was for a whole 6 hours or so, my lower volt was activated to a level I've never had it before. So if I gave you, like, say, like a scale of 10, it was only ever at max 4 on a good day. This went to 8. And I felt the difference. For example, I was propped up so well, I couldn't slouch. I couldn't force myself to slouch. So when you say slouching's low energy, I go, yes, I know exactly what you mean. I couldn't slouch. I was happier than I've ever been. And although I live in a land where the compatibility is like near bionegative, I didn't feel affected by it because that lower volt was so unbelievably strong.
Correct.
Oh my God, this is everything Master's talking about. And now I go, I know exactly what Master says. I know exactly what Master's talking about. And it was honestly one of the best work days I've ever had. It was amazing. And I've not been able to replicate that since. And I haven't figured out how or why or what to do about it. One of the things I found is that when I did actually have it activated, I looked at my volts. It is shining brighter than ever before, literally blinding in that sense. And it was quite incredible. But that's the thing I found.
Yeah, well, the problem is with those things, it's like muscles. It's literally like physical muscles. You have to work for it. You have to put some effort every day into the exercises. So there isn't a hack or a quick shortcut. You have to rebuild it. Same as if you were working out and building your six-pack. You can't find a hack to suddenly have it happen in a day.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I'm not going to use it as a hack to do that per se. It's this thing where I could probably try and do it temporarily just to help maybe do other things. Because it was certainly a thing where I felt, okay, I've got so much energy, things are flowing nicely, but I'm not going to rely on it as a stim pack. It's one of these things where you have to change yourself from internally to make changes on the external. It's like that has fully clicked to me in the past week. So that's something I'm working on more and more. And I want to really more than ever before now, because it's so clear to me now from some of the things I've done to improve myself. There's this strange pattern where every time we talk, there's this moment go, I've just had this big realization and I haven't truly acted on it yet. But I 100% agree. I will not be using it as like a sort of a hack to try and, not put into work. I don't want to do that anyway, because if anything, it's all it's going to do is just lie to myself that, oh yeah, I can take on the world and do these incredible things. And okay, you should still try and do it anyway, but it's like, I still need to put in the work. And I agree. I 100% agree. I don't want to not to do shortcuts. It's an interesting thing I found, basically, this triangle thing. What is it, by the way, this triangle thing, do you think?
Essentially, it's tied to how your vault operates. Because as you've noticed, that when that started leaking is because your vault is leaky, so it doesn't hold energy properly and it doesn't move properly. It's supposed to spin and spin nice and smoothly, not too fast, but not too slow as well. Because what happens to the vault, and this is why I said to you, did you practice Kaizenesis exercise? And I'm like, this is literally what helps you overcome the bionegative influence of other people, of the land, of the house, of anything, pretty much. So I'm glad you've discovered it and experienced it firsthand, rather than me just telling what it feels like. But essentially, what happens to pretty much everyone is that when they're kids, their vault is spinning quite fast because it needs to deliver energy to all the parts of their bodies as they're growing up to enable them to develop quicker. And so children grow up really quickly. And then as teenagers, that movement slows down. And it's supposed the most natural rotation is to the front. So it goes this way. Although it can spin anyway, in any direction, the best rotation is moving forward. And then it pushes the energy up your spine, on top of your head, and down the back of, down the front of your body. And so this is what the microcosmic orbit is about. And so what happens when people enter their teenage years, they that movement slows down a little bit. They're still full of energy. They still don't know what sleep even means. They can go on with like no rest, no food, or very little food, and they're still fine. But that movement, if they're not doing anything, starts slowing down more and more until eventually, in most adults, apparently there is just one rotation of the vault in 24 hours.
Wow.
So that's how slow the energy becomes. And obviously they start suffering from burnout, low energy, and all sorts because they simply don't have enough energy circulating in their system. So the idea is you do those exercises, as I explained in Kaizenesis. And I'm just going to explain briefly about the third part because it's not really explained in detail in the book. Because the book is meant to be a companion to an actual training rather than just being a thing. So it's more like a recap. Now, I'm just going to recap the exercises. So the first one is downward push, when you stand on the balls of your feet and you drop down nice and soft, but you maximize the shake. Remember the one, right? You push with your palms down and you make sure that energy goes into a lower vault and charges it up. So it's like your internal battery. Now, the next one is easy to remember because it's like the twerking movement. You move your pelvis upwards so that the energy, again, the shaking in that area activates and charges up the lower vault. Now, after that, step number 3 is you sit down and you do a mini meditation. It doesn't need to be a mini. You just play it by the ear. You ask yourself how much time you need, and you just go with that. So there isn't a set duration. But essentially what you do, now your vault is activated, charged up from the previous 2 exercises. And so you sit down, you focus on it, and you either do the microcosmic orbit or you stay present with that energy buzzing in your lower vault. You observe it's rotating forwards, just make sure it's rotating forwards, and you start expanding your awareness from just the lower vault, just the abdomen, just your body, beyond the borders of your body, and expand to the whole room, to the whole house if you can. And you will notice that at some point you can't expand anymore, so that's fine. So keep it at that maximum expansion. And you don't actually need to do anything. Just keep your mind still and focus on that field of presence that is you with the center in your lower vault. All right. So it keeps spinning, and around it, there is that cloud of presence that is you. Because by doing so, you're actually cleaning your energy system and your external energy system. And there are too many channels to clean them separately. So you do it in one big swoop. Yes. So this is something that is good to do every morning. And if you can, even do it twice a day or a couple of times a day. And this is how you actually develop your strength. Because as I said, you keep looking for some hack that enables you to suddenly activate it and suddenly it works. Good.
No more.
Good.
No more. No more. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. No more. No more. I've been told by a higher self, like, look, if you want things to happen, you have to do the right action. It's basically the summary of that message. So yeah, 100%.
Basically, if you don't work out, you don't get a 6-pack. That's it.
Exactly.